Supercoach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We are live. This is the Insight Fantasy Sport Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Kennedy, and you can also call me the Supercoach Hawk. We are 50 minutes away from the first of our Friday doubleheader, and I've got back in the studio with me our good mate, Big Horse, Mickie Dell. How are you?
Robbie, good to be back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it has been a long week, but I'm tonguing for some footy tonight. Geelong and Richmond. I reckon this is going to be closer than what people think.
I strangely think so too, which there's no reason that it should be.
No.
I think the G obviously makes it a little bit more interesting, but you can never put down Richmond. I think they're always a chance to bounce back. And I think on a big occasion on a Friday night, they might step up under the lights, but it's definitely leaning towards the Cats for me. And I think Gold Coast to come over and do the job here in the West against West Coast. Mate, I need a lot of help. I have had a busy week. It's not as busy as yours. I will not try and compare, but I've had a busy week and I've just realized I haven't made any trades yet. There's a very good chance I did say, and I put it out on the Twitter sphere, that this would be a no trade week for me.
Yep.
I'm going to get you to help me though, because I think I need to do one. I think I need to do someone downgraded to Rory Atkins is what I'm thinking about doing.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Rory Atkins at the moment, but the cash gets me what I need. If I've got a dead rookie sitting on the bench, or not a dead rookie, but a rookie who's on the bench, sitting at about 300K or 280K, to go down to someone who's 200, who's probably going to make 40 to 50K this week, that's 150K back in my bank for next week to start looking to do some upgrades as we move forward. So we might dive into that in a little bit. We'll also dive into what you're doing with your trades and movements this weekend. And make sure anyone who's listening along, if you haven't clicked subscribe, please do. And also drop some comments in. This is what this live is all about, to ask those final questions for you before you set your VC, your C, and any trades that you might be doing this weekend. So, how has your week been? Just first and foremost, how's your week? We had Skiddy come on. He did a pretty good job. But how's your week been, mate?
What an absolute legend that Skidmore bloke is. He's a great tune, isn't he?
A lot of love. Raw emotion. We love it. We love his raw insights as well. There might have been a couple of JDs. I don't reckon he's used the standard squeeze on his paws up there in Fiji. I give myself a little bit of. I did give myself a pat on the back of the chat for keeping it all together. But I bloody loved talking to him. As much as I missed you in the studio, I really enjoyed what he brought in that episode. It was really good.
Yeah. This week, just busy work-wise. It was good to get Skiddy in. For those that do shift work, they know what night shift's like. It's like waking up with a hangover every day. But we've got 2 nights left of it and then into some days off. So looking forward to, I won't be able to watch too much footy this weekend, but I'm looking forward to watching some replays and getting stuck into some good analysis, especially given that we've got more DPPs coming up. Your Sam Walshes, your Jack McRae, who are very enticing. Yep. We've got bye rounds too, which we need to discuss. Look at your Gold Coast and Geelong players especially. We'll move on from there. So
the hot questions are coming through, and we did talk about how you didn't take Noah Anderson during the week, but our Skidmore friend did. And James Hamilton, welcome to the show. James has already thrown one out to us. So Petrarca or Noah Anderson? I'll let you go first, Big Horse, and then I'll give my thoughts.
I really like Noah Anderson with this, purely because Gold Coast have got the favourable bye. So I think it's round 13. It's only Geelong and Gold Coast with the bye, which will allow your team structure to have more players on the ground when the Gold Coast and Geelong teams are playing when other teams aren't. So, and when you're looking at what Noah Anderson gives the Gold Coast Suns when Took Miller's out especially, he's an inside-outside player. He uses the ball well. He pushes forward and he kicks goals. It's essentially what Petrarca does, but I think he does it with a little bit more disposal efficiency. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's Noah Anderson.
Yeah, I think the same. I think for me, if you are bringing in Noah Anderson, it must be this week. This is the week to bring him in. His break-even's down extremely low. He's sitting in the low 600K. This is now the week that you bring him in. You're getting closer. The Took time to come back. But as you said, I think he'll still play as good a role when Took does come back. So for me, James, as much as I've got Petrarca and I'm putting the VC on Petrarca against Hawthorn this week, I think Noah Anderson is your week to bring him in. Absolutely.
For sure.
And look, I mean, that doesn't say Petrarca could go and have the biggest score this weekend against Hawthorn especially, but I think that round 15 bye is a very nice week to have the favourable buys, and especially with Noah Anderson, as you said, Gold Coast and Geelong having that different bye, which is good to bring in.
For sure.
Hope that helps, James. Cheers for tuning in and dropping your questions in there. Ryan Parry, also I think known as our Ryan Hamo. Would you rather field Chase Jones versus the Saints, who give up 30-plus to Zeeble, or Ashcroft versus Essendon? Do you want this one, Big Oars?
Yeah, I can. You know what? When he's not in talk and dribble, he actually comes up with some pretty good content and some good questions. Did you know that Chase Jones averages 105 this year at Adelaide Oval, or in Adelaide, and averages 75 away? So yeah, I think you're going to get 100 either way. If you can field both, and sit Ashcroft. I think with it, it's going to be dewy. They've talked about it being wet. I think Essendon are going to turn the Brisbane-Essendon game into a scrap, especially given that the Essendon side are undermanned. I say where because I'm an Essendon supporter. I think it's going to be a good scoring game for your scrappy players like Dunkley. Neil will get a fair bit of it. McCluggage. When we're talking Ashcroft, I think he'll get his 15, 20 touches, but I don't think it's going to be clean. So I'd rather field Chase Jones and Zeeble.
It's a good shout. I don't mind that at all. Ashcroft is that up and down one. I'm not one who's moving Ashcroft yet. I know a lot of people are sort of making that move. I think there's other players like a Baker, a Wilmot, a Jinby that I'm moving before I move Ashcroft. I know he has his up and down games, but those are the players I'm moving before Ashcroft at the moment. Who we got? Gold Coast. Your mate, and I think there's a similar surname. Those for those who are checking in. I think your brother here, Gold Coast versus West Coast. I'm taking Anderson. I do like it this week. Ryan has turned that around with they've got a tough run afterwards. So look, back to James's point. I don't think you can go wrong with either Anderson or Petrarca. I mean, I brought Petrarca in last week. I think it's a good pick, and I like what I've done there. I think Anderson as a standby. If you're bringing him in and you want to bring him in, do it this week. If not, Petrarca's not a bad call as well, and especially for where their schedules are at. We've got a big one here. It's James again. He's coming back. I like it. Who should I field tonight? Radicalia, remembering Richmond dropped points to defenders, or Samson Ryan? Looks like he'll ruck most of the game, but Blickvast is on him. Who scores more? This is a fantastic question. Who scores more? Big Horse?
I really like this. I think
it's a great question.
Ryan's going to score more in the way of hit-outs to advantage, but Blissabs, I'm pretty sure it's dry. I haven't actually been outside today, nor have I seen it.
It looks all right. I've got it over here on the screen. It looks okay at the moment. Yeah.
So if it's dry at the G, I think Blissabs will absolutely take to him. He'll run both ways. We've seen that he plays as a midfielder, just as well as what he plays ruck. So what the Geelong team is going to give up in rucking and hit-outs to advantage, they're going to kill it around the ground. So, when we're looking at that, I think Blissabs, he's probably good for his 100, 110 tonight. He's been averaging, 103 for the year? So
we're looking at Samson Ryan or Radicalia.
Oh, we're looking at both of them. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Samson Ryan. So you got Radicalia in the back line. So as we know that Radicalia does get points. Richmond definitely drops some points to their defender. Or Samson Ryan, who's a bit of a worry because he's going to have Blickvast on him.
Yeah. Geez, that's tough.
That is tough. That's a tough call. I know a lot of people have Samson sitting there as that sort of second ruck at the moment, which is already one of those things that makes me a bit nervous. Oh, man, this is I think Radicalia scores more. I don't think Samson does what he does last week. Geelong have a knack of really not letting people get much of a score. I like the fact that Samson's in the ruck, which gets you a bit more confidence. But, yeah, this is a flip of the coin. Flip of the coin. I know that's not what we're meant to do. I will sit and say Samson Ryan scores more just because he's in the ruck. If you're confident he's going to ruck most of the day, then he scores more. Just.
I think Ryan purely because when Richmond go forward, it's that fast-paced moving style they do. They don't necessarily do the Essendon thing and kick it long to the opposition's key defenders. So when you're looking at how Geelong will structure up against a bit of a run and gun team, Tom Stewart will be that lone, that rebounding, intercept marking player that they have. And Ratugolea will potentially go to Rewalt. So I think Samson Ryan purely because of the hit-outs to advantage, but I don't think he'll be in his hundreds.
So we've given him Noah Anderson and we've given him Samson Ryan over Ratugolea and Petrarca. Now that's not Petrarca and Noah Anderson is not a week by week thing. It's is where we think the call is. He's not a bad call though. James, mate, we wanted to get James on the pod. He asked some pretty good questions here. I like it. How about no Dangerfield for centre clearances? Maybe Richmond dominates so Ryan scores more. I still think Ryan scores more than Ratugolea. But I don't think they're going to have too much. I don't think danger makes the difference between whether Ryan gets the scores or not for me.
Yeah. Regardless of whether Dangerfield's in there or not, they've got a young gun by the name of Maxie Holmes that's really coming through now. And you've got to remember they've got Atkins and these sorts of players as well. So I understand they've got Hopper, Taranto, Graham, these sorts of players. But yes, they're going to miss Dangerfield's run and carry to an extent, but he doesn't really use the ball that well. He just kicks long and long and long. He doesn't really, short pass and hit up the short targets. So what I think they're going to miss out on with Dangerfield being out of the side, they're going to get an Aldi version of that in Maxie Holmes tonight.
Our old mate and good mate and co-host, Justin Herbert. I think this is a great question. He's been on the tip of the tongue for a lot of people this week. Andy Brayshaw at the great price. What are our thoughts? So Andy Brayshaw sitting at 531,000. He's dropped 84,500 for the year. He's got a break even of 54. They do have a very tough run coming up. What's your thoughts on Andy Brayshaw?
He's not going to get any cheaper. Last 3 weeks, he's got 97, 95, and 140. Hopefully, it's his breakout. I thought about it. I've made a couple of moves this week, but I'm actually going to go is it his cousin in Angus? I'm going to be bringing Angus in this week. His brother? Yeah, I'm going to be bringing him in this week. But how good is it to hear from the king of the 7-Elevens?
I love it. I'm a big fan, and I did look at the Andrew Brayshaw price drop, and you're right. He's not going to get any cheaper. With his break-even 54, he's got that covered for sure. I'm kind of having a look around at who else is sort of in that price. You've still got the likes of like Scott Pendybury's down at like 516, Errol Goulden at 490, 600. He's starting to find the pill a lot now. Tom Mitchell at 528. It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a really tricky pick, but I do like Brayshaw's price, and I reckon, like anything in Supercoach, you got to buy low and sometimes you sell high or you hold on to them and you enjoy it. So it's not a bad shout. They do have Sydney, Geelong, and another good team. I'm sure I can't remember who it is, but I know they got 3 tough ones on the trot. Speaking of Sydney players, if I have Callum Mills, do I also consider Goulden? Seems cheap. I think Goulden's at a good price right now, and he's showing that he can find the pill anywhere, anytime. I don't think it's a must, but I like it. Yeah, I like it, and I've bought him in this week too. So I've made a couple of pickups, which we'll go through later. If you've got Callum Mills, keep him. And if you don't have him, I'd start to look at him now with players starting to come back to Sydney. So he's at what's he at? 503,000 at the moment. Like he's dropped off 130,000 from the start of the year, which is just insane for a player like Callum Mills. And these players like this, they don't stay down forever. So this could be the week that he turns it around. But for NJB, getting tongue-tied there. Hold on to Callum Mills. I'd also bring in Goulden. Sydney always come good at the back end of the year as well, and I think you'll find they'll play finals still. Yeah, I think Goulden's primed to be picked up now. Callum Mills at 523, so he's in a similar price for Andy Brayshaw. Interested to see where his DPP will look, seeing he's gone down to the back line for the last few weeks, considering they've had so many injuries. So it'll be interesting to see what that actually looks like. He's one I've definitely got on my radar to look to bring in. James is throwing us the big ones, and I like it. So let's go with another. Who do we drop, Marshall or Darcy for Gawn, as he will gain DPP in the near future, and Gawn's break-even lowest it'll ever be? Correct. Marshall has competition in the ruck with Campbell. Me and Skiddy talked about it. So I threw the question at Skiddy during the week about Maxi Gawn. So what do you do? And I talked to him from someone who's sitting in that high scoring echelon to what he needs to do with Gawn. And when is the time that you look at Gawn? My only concern with Gawn at the moment is when do they rest him?
Mm-hmm.
That's my only concern. When he plays, he scores big, but when do they rest him? And that's going to hurt you if you've got to make another move. So I'm not on Gawn until I see that DPP and until I know that they're really still pushing for that top 4 and what that looks like. That's me at the moment.
Yeah, I'm the same. I considered bringing him in. And same, so I've got Darcy and I've got Marshall as my 2 rucks. Darcy does look a little bit sore, but look at it this way. You've got 2 ruckmen that are scoring pretty well. It takes 1 injury and it just messes up your plans. And then you've got to burn 2 or 3 trades to get back to where you are. So how much is Gawn going to go up in the next couple of weeks? I don't know. But, yeah, I'm not touching it for now.
Yeah. James, you make really good points, mate. In this week, Darcy Freo, tough draw, plus a little sore. They'll rest Gawn after the DPP so can bench him for the week. Absolutely, mate. Back your gut. Like we've said on this show many times, back your gut. My opinion is I don't think Marshall has any competition in Campbell. That spot is definitely his spot. He even gets subbed just so that he can be rested and make sure they have him for the weeks following and they're all good to go. So for me, that move isn't there yet. It's not my move. And the other one to be aware of is Darcy Cameron's coming back at some point very soon. And he could be a very big point of difference when he comes back. And somebody will have that DPP that you can put in your forward line to begin with first. So
100%.
That's when I would start looking at the Gawn and the Darcy Camerons that you can flick around a little bit and make up for those weeks as they go off. Like anything, I think it comes down to the breakdown of your team. If you're starting to feel that full primo team, great. You can start making some of those calls. But until then, I'm building the primos up for my side. That being said,
before we move on, so Freo have Sydney, who have not much of a ruckman, and then Freo have Geelong, who don't have much of a ruckman, and then they've got Melbourne, who have Gawn and Grundy. So, yeah, that is a tough 3 weeks coming up for Fremantle. I still think Darcy scores fairly well in at least 2 of those games anyway.
I agree. So what are your moves, Big Horse? I want to hear about these guys. While we're still on here now, we're going to be on for at least another 20 minutes. Throw us your questions in there. Let's hear about your moves. What moves are you making? And then I need you to help me with mine.
I've got to get into it now. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
But
I want to hear from the people that are listening along while you're finding that. So I am thinking about bringing in Rory Atkins. I want to do one downgrade. I haven't done a trade this week at all. If I'm going to make this move, it needs to be done before, obviously, the game begins, which is coming up pretty soon. I'm thinking about it's either McKenna, Wilmot, or Baker being the ones that I need to drop. It could also be a Noah Long if I wanted to. They would be my options. I'm interested to hear from the people. One, should I bring in Rory Atkins? This is a bit of a money grab. It's not about job security. I don't really need him to dominate. But do I downgrade McKenna, Wilmot, Long, or even Jinby or Baker? I'm intrigued.
Yeah, right. So I've got my moves here. So I'm using a boost this week. I'm going out of my side, LDU. He looks bloody sore and just didn't look himself last week. He had a good start to the year. I bought him in, and ultimately he's shit the bed. Sorry to all you Kangaroo supporters, but it looks like a long rest of the year ahead for LDU. Wilmot is finally making his way out, and Van Ruin, see you, mate. Good to see you got off your suspension, which I thought was pretty ordinary in the first case, but at least you're back in now. And I'm bringing in Angus Brayshaw. I've had a bit of a look at the way he's been playing the last couple of weeks. Melbourne aren't using him as a defender, as in matching up on someone anymore. They're using him for the rebounds from 50 and kick-ins and that sort of stuff. Really like the role. He got 98 last week. He had 100 and something the week before. He's averaging 90, I think it's 96 or 97 over the past 3 weeks. So he's in for me
Andy,
now.
you mean Angus, don't you? Angus Brayshaw.
Angus, sorry.
Yeah, you're bringing Angus. Yeah, they have changed his role a lot. His role has changed heaps. He's going that midfield a lot more. He was doing a stop-down role on the back line when I had him as a defender, as a primo. He's doing now what I brought him in round 1 for.
Yep.
Exactly. He's going in the midfield and goes to the back line a bit now, where at the start of the season, he was playing on the small or the dangerous forward and actually trying to play a lockdown role. So, yep. So, sorry, Angus Brayshaw. Yep.
So that's one. I'm tossing up between two, so I still have next half an hour left, but they're Sydney players. Errol Goulden I've got in at the moment just because of his DPP status, but I've got enough to bring in Callum Mills. So I'll make that call in the next 20 minutes, I guess, as to what I do with that. And then to fill a role in my forward line, I'm bringing in Tom Berry early. Really like his role with what he's got at the Gold Coast. I believe that he's going to stick. He brings a hard edge to that team. And against a Melbourne team last week that really should have given Gold Coast a bit of a touch-up. I thought their team structure, they were really good. I tipped them early in the year to play finals this year, and I'm still backing them in to be able to play finals this year. And I think that Tom Berry just gives them that little extra. He's like a Nick Holman, but a bit smaller, a bit harder at the ball. And, yeah, I like his role. So I'm going to put me nuts on the line with that one and try and get some cash gen out of him.
So for everyone playing along at home, Tom Berry, 123,900. He's got a break-in of -10. He's only played the one, so he's on obviously the early bubble at the moment, getting a score of 57 against Melbourne. So not a bad call by you. I don't mind that at all. Something that I haven't seen many people talk about at all. Herbie loves your call on Angus Brayshaw. Like we've said, very underrated, just needs a better role. Couldn't agree more. It pains me immensely to see it, as he was my point of difference round one and just had a completely different role. It's good to see him getting the role that he should be playing now, and I think he plays it extremely well. Mate, those are interesting calls. As much as I love Callum Mills, I think the safer call at the moment is Errol Goulden, and I think he's shown regardless that his role, you know exactly what he's going to do, regardless of injuries or anything that they get between now and moving forward. Where Callum Mills, they show if they keep getting those injuries, they keep moving him around and doing things a little bit different. So I love Mills's price. Goulden's at 490 with the DPP and finding ball everywhere at the moment. So I'd probably take Goulden. Callum Mills gives you more point of difference, but it depends where you want to go. But mate, big moves. I like it. You're an out of the box thinker. That's why we have you on this podcast. It's very good. Not just for your good looks and your banter.
I know. It's hard looking like Brad Pitt, but someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. Your brother's put up his moves. I like it. My moves this week, Atkins and Weddle for Roberts and Green. I mean, I can understand why people are doing the Weddle for the money grab. We've said it a few times. I'm just not sold on Hawthorn players at the moment. If you're doing it for a straight money grab, fine, but he could be out tomorrow. They move the magnets everywhere. I nearly like your Tom Berry call over Weddle, to be totally honest, and take a bit of a chance. I nearly think it's a better call unless you just absolutely must have the guaranteed cash. I like Drury or, as you just said, Tom Berry over Weddle. That would be my opinion if you're going to make some calls.
Weddle doesn't have – if you're happy for Weddle to score like Lockie Cowan, because that's exactly how he's going to score, by all means keep him in. He's not going to make too much money, but I think he will play a little bit now, just given that Hawthorn – you've seen what the press have been saying the last couple of weeks about Harley Reid, the Bendigo lad that's playing twos at Carlton and getting best on as a 17-year-old. But, moving forward, Weddle's not going to score you too much. You got to try and think ahead and take some risks. And for me, that's why I'm going with Berry. But he is only forward only. So I like the Atkins call, though. I think Atkins will average 100 these next couple of weeks with Dangerfield out.
So who am I dropping then for Atkins?
It depends how much money he's got and where he needs to fill the void. Whether he's bringing Atkins into his midfield or whether he's bringing Atkins into his defender, because he's a mid-defender dual position player. So
I'm thinking about Atkins. So if you were me then, who are you dropping for me? Who's your call? I need him. I don't need him anywhere. He could actually go on my bench. I'm going to use him as the bench loophole tonight.
Oh, you're talking about the Gold Coast Atkins. I thought you were talking about.
I'm talking about. Is he talking about Geelong Atkins? Do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know. That's how I read it.
I reckon he's doing the money grab. He's doing Rory for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
He's bringing in the Rat. No, I'm talking about the Rat, mate. So who am I bringing in? Who am I bringing in for the Rat? Who am I dropping? McKenna, is it time to go? Connor McKenna?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You
I
keep
know he's
Wilmot,
playing
keep
his
Jimby.
first game against Essendon this week. It is going to be wet up there, though. Dewey, night game. I don't think he's going to score well. There we go. Anthony's just put in the comments, Gold Coast Atkins for the money.
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to make some money, but we've seen when he was a consistent player in the Adelaide Best 22, he averaged 71. That was the best he averaged all year. So
Yeah.
don't expect him to piss in your pocket and tell you it's gold. You're not going to get that many good scores out of him. I think the 90 odd that he got the other week was a bit of a flash in the pan, so to speak. But he will make you 100, 120K, I reckon, before he gets dropped. Especially when Lockie Weller comes in. I think he'll make way for Lockie Weller.
Welcome to the team, Rory Atkins. I've even put him on the field over Jinby. So I'm going to put Jinby can be my bench.
Jinby looks tired, doesn't he? Poor bloke.
I'm going to switch. I'll tell you what I'm going to do though. I feel more confident in Atkins and Sincotta. I don't get a choice to look at Atkins. I'm going to have to move Wilmot and Jimby. I'm going to move Jimby to my midfield bench. And then I'm going to put Wilmot in the back up there. I feel better about that. Everybody really needs to have a good look. There's some really good options for bench loopholes this week. So make sure you're having your bench loopholes. But we'll move on to VCs in a bit. So I've got Jinby on my bench that I can watch tonight. Oh, actually, what am I talking about? I can put Atkins on the bench. There we go. Nearly a rookie error there. There we go. Now I can put Atkins and I can watch Atkins for his score too. Beautiful. Love that. Very good. Good. Nice. All right.
Yeah, nice.
Let's move on to your VC and C options, mate.
Yeah, just while I just saw a comment from Justin in there. Chase Jones a drop.
Oh,
no.
There you go.
Not yet. Who do they play? They play Brisbane. No, they don't. That's round 11. Sorry, I'm a couple of weeks ahead. They play St Kilda at home. He averages over 100 at Adelaide Oval. You're not dropping him this week. No. And he's still got a break even. I think it's still of 38. So if you picked him up early enough, you're going to make 200, 250,000 out of him. He is a drop eventually, but not right now. Hold on to him, big fella.
Beautiful. All right.
It's
tough. I've got some tough lupo calls at the moment. That's why I'm in the back of my brain thinking about things. But we'll drive on. We got 20 minutes until bounce down, so we better get into some VCs for everybody. Intrigued to see what everyone out there's doing.
A good friend of the show and ours, Lukey Moore, had a baby boy earlier this week. So on behalf of the Insight Fantasy Sports team, Morza Renee, welcome to the world, your little boy, mate. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Welcome to Boy Crew as well. I've got a little boy myself, so it's good times. Good times. Enjoy. Very nice. Where are you sticking? We'll go through the games. Richmond, Geelong. Who would you be looking at for VC or C options just VC options in this game, mate?
Tough. Do Richmond have a big defender to go with Tommy Hawkins?
You've got Bolter. You got Bolter.
Yeah, they've got Bolter. That's a no then.
And then you got Bolter and Grimes.
Yeah. Bolter's quite powerful, so I think I'll stay away from doing an extreme left field thing and going a VC on Hawkins.
Does Taranto have a good run again tonight?
Yeah, I think he does. Geelong doesn't tag really. No Dangerfield inside as well, so a little bit more of an opportunity for Taranto to get his hands on the pill a little more.
My only concern for Taranto is that he'll turn it over. With the structures behind the footy for Geelong is that there'll be a lot of intercept marks and he'll get a lot of the footy. He'll do another great fantasy score, but maybe not a great Supercoach score. But if there was an option, I think he's pretty much the only one from a Richmond capacity.
Yeah. I'd be a bit cautious, I guess, of VCing Tommy Stewart tonight, just giving the way that Richmond, like at times, go through Dusty Martin, they go through Shai Bolton, they go through some smaller plays and don't go long and direct as much as other teams do. Do I think he'll score well? Yes, but is it going to be a monster? Probably not.
So that's what Ryan's doing. Ryan's going VC of Tom Stewart into Clary and Bont. Don't mind that. It's not a bad shout. West Coast, Gold Coast. Noah Anderson's the obvious decision in that one. Witt's playing against Bailey Williams could be a good VC option as well. I don't think you'd go too much more in that one. Thoughts?
No, I think I'm starting to feel a bit sorry for Jinby. Like they're saying that he's going to tag Noah Anderson, and he's already tired. Like you can
Mm.
see that he's sort of he's not as up and about as what he was earlier in the year. Like West Coast injuries have decimated them, and I think Adam Simpson would have rested Jinby if he had the chance earlier. I think it's going to be a big one for Noah Anderson, and even like I'm not saying captain him, but if you've got what's his name, King from Gold Coast, he could go really large this week.
Yep. No, I don't mind that shout as well. Who scores more, Jinby or Baker?
Who are the doggies playing? Doggies are playing Carlton, and it's inside Baker.
Done.
Baker
Right.
can't play wet weather footy.
Sydney, it's a good question here. So you've got Goulden as VC into Oliver as captain. I don't mind Goulden as a VC maybe against Freo. Out on the wing. He's sort of playing that role a little bit more. It's not a bad shout. I don't mind that at all. Depends on who you've got as your loophole players, obviously. I think moving forward, I'm looking at, who you got? North Port, Adelaide. I mean, I'm looking at Petrarca to be my VC for Melbourne versus Hawthorn. At the MCG, I think Petrarca just gets off the chain. I know Connor Nash is there, but it's shown that the good players still score big. Dawson still had a massive game. So I like Petrarca to go big against Hawthorn. Led. And then I'm looking to maybe go captain of English. I might be looking at English to be my captain against Pitternet this week because I think Adelaide versus St Kilda. I think St Kilda have some really good defensive structures, and Dacos just hasn't really sold me at the moment. I don't have Clary or Bont, as much as that pains me. I know that Clary and Bonts are always the good options at the moment.
How's Will Gould? He's finally getting his third game.
Yeah.
Wowee. The man is
man.
going to... he was on my team for maybe 3 years and never got a game. And like it crossed my mind just to bring him in to see his price change. But I'm too far behind to...
Is that going to be like everyone? Is everyone going to have a Charlie Constable party when he's named for the third game and he gets a third one?
It's almost like everyone has to drop dead for him to get a game now.
Well, do you know they've named more players? They've played more players at Gold Coast than West Coast have played this year.
Really? I didn't
West
know that.
Coast. I heard that stat this morning. Gold Coast have had more players play this year than West Coast have, and that's saying a lot considering the injuries that West Coast have had. So they're forced to make those calls. He just seems to be just going. He literally has not brought anyone back. Like Alwyn doesn't get back in. Constable doesn't get back in. He's brought no one back. He just keeps going further and further down the magnet chain. It's very odd. It's very odd. Yeah, but look,
how many people get suspended for North Melbourne against Port Adelaide this weekend?
Did I hear? I heard at the start of the week they were thinking about resting him. I was like, for his career and his personal status, you could not rest him. He has got to rock up and he's got to cop it. And if he steps up, then he gets every recognition. He gets every accolade from me if he steps up and plays a big one. But if you rested him, that was the worst thing you could possibly do for him. Do not hide him away from this game. He must play.
Oh, I like.
I did just see that. Yeah, Hawthorn brought in Blunk. Blunk has come in. And I did say, when does Hawthorn possibly let Sicily go back and play a little bit of midfield maybe? So it'll be interesting what he does.
Who's Blunk?
Yeah, he's not bad actually. He's actually pretty solid. I don't mind him at all. It's Sam Frost 150th. We know Sam Frost is going to play on an opponent playing against his old side. So you're right. Sicily could be floating back. Anyone that keeps talking about moving Sicily though, you picked him for a reason. He hasn't done enough to warrant getting dropped from your side. You keep him in your side and he could go absolutely ballistic. And I am still waiting for the moment that he possibly goes in and does that midfield role again, which he did at the end of last year and absolutely crushed it. So, yeah. No, I like that. Trying to make the captain happy again. Very nice. Very good. Isn't Sam Frost off home and away? Good call from our NRL host with the most. Sam Frost is from home and away. And sometimes Sam Frost at Hawthorn plays like that, Sam Frost. But bless him. He gets every last bit of ounce of ability out of his body. And I wish him all the best for his 150th. But, mate, I think that's kind of where we're at. We're getting close to bounce down now. Any final questions, feel free to throw them in there and we try and answer them at the end. I'm really frustrated actually with this call of McKenna. I might have to look at somebody else because it's really stuffed me up on doing bench loopholes because Jimby I can't actually watch and get a free look at because I've also got Noah Long and Alwyn sitting on that bench next to him. So it kind of stuffs me up. So I need to go and have a little bit of a look of what I'm going to do to make my bench loophole the best it can possibly be. Yep. I'm excited to hold on to Setterfield for one more week with Darcy Perish out with his calf. I hope Setterfield goes in and has an absolute blinder for me for one more week, and then he will be getting upgraded next week with all the cash that I have in the bank. Any big moves for you going forward? You've done your big move this week.
I've done my big move this week, so I'll sit tight for a little bit, and I'll be VCing Oliver into seeing Bontempelli.
I love that, mate. That's just like safety personified. I love that. What like just before we close out, how many trades and how many boosts have you got left?
Got one boost left.
Yep.
And 17 trades.
I've got one boost left and 18 trades. I've got 145,900 in the bank at the moment if I do drop McKenna for Atkins. But I'm going to go take a little cheeky look at it before bounce down. Any final words, Mr. Big Horse?
No, I don't think so. I was just looking forward to getting stuck into another round of footy. We'll be back on what night? Sunday night to give the viewers a rundown of the week that was. This week as well, who got the top score in our league? Mel. Second coming with a 2,575 she scored.
That's big, considering it wasn't Skitty who finished at 560th this week as the score. That she's must have had a massive score. Very good. Very good. Congratulations.
Skitty finished fourth for the week.
Wow, we've got some, mate. We've got some big players. We've got the big players in our league. I tell you what, we've got the big players in our league. I'm going to give a shout out to James Hamilton as our viewer and supporter of the week right here in this live performance. Thank you for your questions, James. You get a massive round of applause. That's what I'm doing. No, we appreciate that. Very good. We appreciate everybody who jumps on and puts in the questions. It makes the show much better and much more enjoyable. If you haven't clicked subscribe, please do. Make sure you get along to our partners in the Standard Squeeze and Snap Fitness in Epsom and Bendigo. Big Horse, it's been a pleasure to see you back here and see your face and hear those docile tones of yours. Everybody, go and enjoy the footy. This has been the Insight Fantasy Sport Podcast. Peace out.
See ya.